Good evening and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Aaron Gonders.
And I'm Carney Porter. Testimony is set to resume on Monday in the trial of Catherine Jarvey, facing up to life in prison on charges related to her child, who was discovered extremely malnourished more than 3 years ago.
Josh Hoggard was in the courtroom for the first week of this trial, and he's joining us now with a look back at today's proceedings. So Josh, how did they go?
Yeah, guys, so the first week of Catherine Jarvey's trial came to a close this afternoon after two physicians responsible for her son's care at some of the most critical moments in his life both took the stand in the 78th District Court. When things got going on Friday morning, lead prosecutor Chelsea Carlton called the state's first witness of the day, Dr. Elizabeth Peeler with Cook Children's Medical Center, who served as the lead physician for Jarvey's 6-year-old son once he was transferred from United Regional to Cook's on September 22, 2022. Dr. Peeler spoke with police after the victim was admitted, and in the affidavit, she described the victim as extremely small for his age, adding that he was cachectic, physically wasting away due to the loss of weight. Also telling police, quote, "I see patients for neglect every day. This is one of the worst I've ever seen. This is really egregious." On Friday, Dr. Peeler testified that she believed the victim was suffering from chronic malnourishment, reaffirming a statement she made to police that Jarvey's failure to seek medical attention and failure to feed the victim definitely contributed to the child's near fatality. While Carlton reviewed Dr. Peeler's report, pictures taken of the child were shown to the jury, and several jurors were observed with expressions of concern and sympathy on their faces. Dr. Peeler testified that many of the physicians were visibly upset at the sight of the child. Quote, "To see a child in that state, it was extremely upsetting." She testified that the victim spent about 4 weeks at Cook Children's, and when he was discharged, he had gained more than 4 pounds, an increase of more than 25%. After lunch, United Regional physician Robert Parkey, who specializes in hospice care, took the stand. Dr. Parkey testified that he provided care for the victim after he was born, noting the severe medical issues the child was born with, including an abnormal brain structure, adding that his prognosis at birth wasn't good at all. Dr. Parkey testified that the victim, quote, "exceeded all expectation of the hospice care team simply by surviving," adding that most kids born with the victim's prognosis didn't make it. Dr. Parkey testified that had Jarvey reached out to the hospice team, plenty of resources would have been available. But to his knowledge, Jarvey never reached out for help caring for her son, echoing previous testimony that something could have been done to prevent the child from ever reaching the state that he was in when police discovered him more than 3 years ago. Now, while Dr. Peeler was on the stand, the jury was also shown a photo of the victim taken the day before he was discharged from Cook Children's. And in that picture, the victim was very clearly gaining weight. He was moving his legs, things that he wasn't doing before, but something really remarkable. He also had a huge grin on his face from laughing at the nurses. And that image, it really highlights two things. First, his vast improvement over just 4 weeks. It corroborates testimony from several witnesses about just how egregious this neglect was. But second, and most important, the victim in this case did survive. And as prosecutors mentioned in their opening statements on Wednesday, he's since been adopted by a loving family who is now making sure his needs are all met. Prosecutors are set to call more witnesses in Jarvey's trial when it resumes on Monday morning.
All right, Josh. So this trial has already been going on for a week now, and you've been in the courtroom. How much longer is the trial expected to continue?
Well, Carney, if you remember, prosecutors had the expectation this was going to last 2 weeks, and it looks like that's still pretty much accurate. We know that the prosecution is set to call more witnesses on Monday, but they've said they only have a handful left to call before they rest their case. And then Jarvey's defense will have a chance to present a case if they so choose. And then based on that, we're looking at both sides resting and closing towards the middle, maybe the end of next week. Then the jury would be given the chance to determine Jarvey's guilt or innocence. Again, if they do find her guilty, they'll be tasked with assessing her punishment. So we very well could be talking about going this full 2 weeks or even beyond. We'll just have to see how things unfold when we get back going next week.
And we know you'll keep us updated as the days progress. Josh, thank you so much for giving us the update on that trial.